Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson went on a camping trip. As they lay down for the night, the fire dwindling nearby, Holmes said, "Watson, look up and tell me what you see." Watson said, "I see a fantastic panorama of countless of stars." Holmes: "And what does that tell you?" Watson: "Astronomically, it suggests to me that if there are billions of other galaxies that have roughly similar stellar population densities as represented by my view, that potentially trillions of planets may be associated with such a galactic and therefore stellar population. Allowing for similar chemical distribution throughout the cosmos, it may be reasonably implied that life and possibly intelligent life may well fill the universe. Also, being a believer theologically, it tells me that the vastness of space may be yet another suggestion of the greatness of God and that we are small and insignificant. Meteorologically, the blackness of the sky and the crispness of the stellar images tells me that there is low humidity and stable air, and therefore we are most likely to enjoy a beautiful day tomorrow. Why? What does it tell you, Mr. Holmes? Holmes: "Someone stole our tent." Bob was excited about his new .338 rifle and decided to try bear hunting. He traveled up to Alaska, spotted a small brown bear, and shot it. Soon after, there was a tap on his shoulder, and he turned around to see a big black bear. The black bear said, "That was a very bad mistake. That bear is my cousin. I'm going to give you two choices. Either I maul you to death, or we have sex." After considering briefly, Bob decided to accept the latter alternative. So the black bear had his way with Bob. Even though he felt sore for 2 weeks, Bob soon recovered and vowed revenge. He headed out on another trip to Alaska, where he found the black bear and shot it dead. Right after, there was another tap on his shoulder. This time, a huge grizzly bear stood right next to him. The grizzly said, "That was a big mistake, Bob. That bear was my cousin, and you've got two choices. Either I maul you to death, or we have rough sex." Again, Bob thought it was better to cooperate with the grizzly bear than be mauled to death. So the grizzly had his way with Bob. Although he survived, it took several months before Bob fully recovered. Now Bob was completely outraged, so he headed back to Alaska and managed to track down the grizzly bear and shot it. He felt sweet revenge, but then moments later, there was a tap on his shoulder. He turned around to find a giant polar bear standing there. The polar bear looked at him and said, "Admit it, Bob. You don't come here just for the hunting, do you?" While in China, an American man is very sexually promiscuous and does not use a condom the entire time he is there. A week after arriving back home in the States, he wakes one morning to find his penis covered with bright green and purple spots. Horrified, he immediately goes to see a doctor. The doctor, never having seen anything like this before, orders some tests and tells the man to return in 2 days for the results. The man returns a couple of days later, and the doctor says, "I've got bad news for you. You've contracted Mongolian VD. It's very rare and almost unheard of here in the U.S. We know very little about it." The man looks a little perplexed and says, "Well, give me a shot or something and fix me up, Doc." The doctor answers, "I'm sorry, there's no known cure. We're going to have to amputate your penis." The man screams in horror, "Absolutely not! I want a second opinion." The doctor replies, "Well, it's your choice. Go ahead if you want, but surgery is your only option." The next day, the man seeks out a Chinese doctor, figuring that he'll know more about the disease. The Chinese doctor examines his penis and proclaims, "Ah, yes, Mongolian VD. Very rare disease." The guy says to the doctor, Yeah, I already know that, but what can we do? My American doctor wants to cut off my penis." The Chinese doctor shakes his head and laughs. "Stupid American doctors always want to amputate. Make more money that way. No need to amputate." "Oh, thank God," the man exclaims. Yes, says the Chinese doctor. Wait 2 weeks. Fall off by itself. A man was hiking in China. He walked up a beautiful mountain for hours until it was nearly night. Then he saw an old stone house, 2 stories high, beautiful but very old work. He knocked on the door and an old Chinese man opened. Hello, good sir, I know I am a stranger, but it is getting dark and I don't want to hike all the way back in the dark. Could I sleep here just for 1 night? The old man lets him in. You may sleep here, but keep your hands away from my daughter or you will suffer an old curse. The young man accepts and stays the night. However, the daughter was really beautiful, and so he got to her bedroom at night and they had a passionate night. The next morning he awakes with a big boulder on his chest. A note was attached that said, First curse, the block of sinning. He threw it out of the window when he discovered a second message saying, Second curse, rope attached on block and left testicle. He saw the rope and decides in a heartbeat to also jump out of the window. Better some broken feet than loosing his testicle. While jumping out, he saw a third message. Final curse, rope attached to wardrobe and right testicle. 2 old guys, Walt and Ray, were sitting in the park talking when the subject turned to getting older. Ray said, Women have all the luck when it comes to getting older. What do you mean? Asked Walt. Well, replied Ray, I can barely remember the last time I was able to get it up in bed, but my wife is healthier than ever. I don't understand, Walt said. Years ago, when we were younger, almost every night before bed she would get these terrible headaches. Now that we are older, she hasn't had a headache in years. I saw a homeless man, and I asked him if I gave him $20, would you buy booze? He said no, he hadn't had a beer in years. Then I said, if I give you $20, will you buy hunting gear? He again said no, he stopped hunting 5 years ago. So then I said, I'll do you better than $20. I'll take you home and let you all clean up. My wife will cook a fantastic meal for you. Then I'll bring you back and still give you $20. He asked me, wouldn't she get mad? I said it didn't matter. I just wanted her to see what happens to a man when he stops drinking and hunting. A man phones his wife and asks her, Honey, I've been asked to go fishing in China with my boss for a week. This is a good opportunity for me to get the promotion. So could you please pack enough clothes for a week, set out my rod and fishing box? We're leaving from office and I'll swing by the house to pick my things. Oh, please pack my new blue silk pajamas. The wife noticed that there's something fishy in her husband's story, but since she was a good wife, she listened to her husband and did exactly as he told her. After a week, the husband returned home, looking a bit tired but happy to have done a good job. The wife immediately started asking about the weekend, how it was, if he'd caught any fish, and so on. The husband said, Yes, lots of salmon, bluegill, and a few swordfish. But why didn't you pack my blue silk pajamas? To which the wife responded, I did. They're in your fishing box. Married woman comes home early and finds her husband having ferocious sex with a young, attractive woman in their marital bed. She immediately says, You bastard, you son of a bitch, I'm calling my lawyer and divorcing you this minute. After all the love and devotion I have given you all these years, this is how you repay me? The husband then replies, Can you at least let me explain? Wife says, Explain? Go ahead, though this is inexcusable. Husband says, I was on my way to work. Then I saw this young lady in the street with almost no clothes, barefoot and basically homeless. She begged me for anything, so I gave her shelter in our home. Remember those shoes that I bought you that you threw away because one of your friends already had it? Well, I gave them to her and she loved them. And remember those clothes I gave you for your birthday that you threw away because you said they made you look fat? Well, I gave them to her and she loved them. Also the steak that I cooked for you yesterday that you refused because you were all of the sudden vegan. Well, she ate it all. Then just before she was heading out, she asked me, Is there anything else you wife doesn't want? 2 strangers, an Englishman and a Scotsman, are sitting at a bar chatting. They've both had a few drinks, so the conversation gets a bit more personal. It turns out they both have the same strange fetish, tickling a woman's ass with a feather. The Scotsman says, I love it, but I can never find anyone to do it with. The Englishman says, oh, it's simple. You simply ask every attractive woman you see, can I tickle your ass with this feather? And if she is offended, you claim to have said, how about the weather? Works every time. That's bloody brilliant, says the Scotsman. I'd love to try it. Have you got a feather on you? Of course. I always keep a feather on hand. Give it a go. The Scotsman takes the feather and walks up to an attractive woman he's had his eye on across the bar. He nervously approaches her and says, can I stick this feather up your arse? The woman spits her drink out. What did you say? It's fucking raining. A married couple are having hard financial times, so they decide that their only option is for the wife to become a prostitute. She's not quite sure what to do, so the husband says, stand in front of that bar and pick up a guy. Tell him that you charge $100. If you have a question, I'll be parked around the corner. She's been standing there for 5 minutes when a guy pulls up and asks, how much? She says, $100. He says, all I have is $30. She says, hold on, and runs back to her husband and asks, what can he get for 30? A hand job, was the reply. She runs back and tells the guy for $30 he gets a hand job. He agrees, so she gets in the car, he unzips his pants, and out pops this huge member. She stares at it for a minute and then says, I'll be right back. She runs back to her husband and asks, can you loan this guy $70? The new priest is nervous about hearing confessions, so he asks an older priest to sit in on his sessions. The new priest hears several confessions. Then the old priest asks him to step out of the confessional for a few suggestions. The old priest suggests, cross your arms over your chest and rub your chin with one hand. The new priest tries this. The old priest suggests, try saying things like, I see, yes, go on, I understand, and how did you feel about that? The new priest repeats those things, trying them out. The old priest says, now don't you think that's a little better than slapping your knee and saying, no way, what happened next? A man from Los Angeles took a job in San Francisco, leaving his 70-year-old widowed mother of 6 months to fend for herself. As her birthday was approaching, he went around asking his coworkers for ideas to get his mom a birthday gift. None of their ideas appealed to him until someone suggested a pair of talking birds for $500 each and explained that he had gotten his own mother a pair and that she absolutely loves them. His coworker added that they were no ordinary talking birds, that they could impersonate actors, they dance and tell jokes. But it will take them a day or two to get used to the new place and won't talk until then. So he buys the birds and has them shipped to his mother. He calls her on her birthday the following morning. Mom answers. Son says, happy birthday, Mom? She says, oh, thank you, dear. He asks, so, Mom, did my gift arrive? She says, yes, it did. And I enjoyed them very much. Thank you, son. They were delicious. I plucked the feathers and cooked them like little game hens. No, Mom. Please tell me you're kidding, he said. She assured him that she wasn't, and he proceeded to tell her about the price of the birds and everything they were capable of doing. Wait, she said. Those birds could talk? Yes, Mom, they sang and danced and they talked. Well then, why the hell didn't they say something? To celebrate their 10th anniversary, Fruit Ninja decides to host a live event. They decide to commission for an arcade-style game/exhibition to be made where the visitors can pick up physical weapons at each of the fruit stations and hit the designated fruit with them. After they hit the fruit, the computer would display their score and play a congratulatory tune if they got above a certain score. Everything goes smoothly, and Fruit Ninja rents a huge outdoor space to host all of these different stations on the day of the event. The most popular one has to be the Katana Strawberry, with an estimated wait time of 2 hours. That is followed by the tonfa watermelon and the spear apple, with wait times lasting 1 hour and 30 minutes respectively. Generally, all of the stations are doing very well, but there's one where the crowd gathered appears to be more confused than anything. It's a green fruit, but with no physical weapon in sight. Speculation spreads among the crowd, with theories ranging from "it's not one of the stations" to "somebody must have stolen the weapon." However, one of the people in the crowd manages to pull over a Fruit Ninja employee to ask them what's going on. The employee takes one look at the station and sighs, "I told them from the beginning that we should have ditched this idea or put up signs because people are going to wonder about the lack of a weapon." He continues, "Yeah, it's a really bad punchline." A woman got married not long after high school, and her husband broke her heart when he ran off with another woman. She eventually got back into the dating scene and fell in love again with another man. They married, but he turned out to be an asshole who hit her when he was angry. She divorced him as well. Over time, she met a third man who seemed perfect for her in every way but one. He was terrible in bed. She married him anyway, reasoning that would improve the more they knew each other, but it didn't, and after a year, she finally divorced him. Having now been divorced 3 times, she decided to join an online dating service and was very blunt about her preferences. She flat out asked for a man who would never hit her, never run off with another woman, and be good in bed. About 3 weeks later, her doorbell rang, and when she answered it, there was a man in a wheelchair who had no legs and no arms. He said, "Hello, I think I'm your perfect man." She said, "Really?" "How so?" Said the man, "Well, I have no arms, so I will never beat you, and I have no legs, so I will never run off with another woman." She stared at him and asked, Are you good in bed?" And he answered, "I rang the doorbell, didn't I?" A man went to Spain on vacation and stopped by a restaurant. He saw an interesting dish and asked the waiter about it. The waiter said, "Son los cojones del toro, the testicles of the bull, sir. We serve it once a day after the bullfights." The man ordered it for the next day. When he came back, he got his dish, but noticed something was wrong. "Excuse me," he said, "why are these so much smaller than the ones from yesterday?" The waiter shrugged and replied, "I'm sorry, sir, but sometimes the bull wins." A woman walks into Cabela's to buy a fishing rod and reel for her son's birthday. Not knowing much about fishing gear, she randomly picks one and heads to the counter. The clerk, wearing dark glasses, stands behind the register. She approaches him and asks, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me anything about this rod and reel?" He replies, "Ma'am, I'm completely blind, but if you drop it on the counter, I can tell you everything about it just from the sound." Skeptical but curious, she lets it fall onto the counter. The clerk listens and says, "That's a 6-foot Shakespeare graphite rod with a Zebco 404 reel and 10-pound test line. It's a solid all-around combo, and lucky for you, it's on sale this week for just $20. Amazed, she exclaims, "That's incredible. I'll take it." As she reaches into her purse to grab her wallet, her credit card slips out and lands on the floor. Without missing a beat, the clerk says, "Oh, that sounds like a MasterCard." She bends down to pick it up and, in an unfortunate moment, accidentally lets out a fart. Embarrassed, she freezes, then reassures herself. There's no way the blind clerk could know it was her. After all, he can't see that she's the only one nearby. The man rang up her purchase and said, "That'll be $34.50. Puzzled, she asks, "Wait, didn't you say the rod and reel were $20? How did it jump to $34.50? He smiles and replies, "Yes, ma'am. The rod and reel are $20, but the duck call is $11 and the catfish bait is $3.50. Without another word, she swipes her MasterCard and walks out. A lady walks into a fancy jewelry store. She browses around, spots a beautiful diamond bracelet, and inspects it. She accidentally breaks the wind when she bends over to look more closely. very embarrassed. She looks around nervously to see if anyone has noticed her little accident and prays that a salesperson doesn't appear. When she turns around, her worst nightmare materializes as a salesman standing right behind her. Cool as a cucumber and with complete professionalism, the salesman of the fancy jewelry store greets the lady with, "Good morning, madam. How may we help you today?" Very uncomfortably, but in the hope that the salesman may not have been there at the time of her little accident. She asks, "Sir, what is the price of this beautiful bracelet?" He replies, "Ma'am, if you farted just looking at it, you're going to crap when I tell you the price." Two virgins get married and go on their honeymoon. Unfortunately, neither of them knows what to do, so they call the groom's mother for advice. The mother says that they should sit together on the bed, kiss and snuggle, and things should happen from there. The newlyweds do that, but nothing happens. The groom calls his mother back again and asks what to do now. She says that they should take off their clothes, get under the covers, and nature should take its course. They follow her advice, but still nothing. He calls his mother again. By the time she is getting frustrated and says, "Listen, dumb ass, just take the biggest thing you've got and stick it in her hairiest spot." The groom is quiet for a moment and then asks his mother, "Okay, so I've got my nose in her armpit. Now what?" A guy goes into a restaurant for lunch. After careful consideration, he decides he will have a bowl of the day's soup. The waiter praises him for his decision. "Ah, excellent choice. The chef makes the soup fresh each day from only the freshest, locally sourced ingredients. It is completely organic, and there are no additives or preservatives." "Well, it sounds delicious," the man says. "I can't wait to try it." "Very good, sir," the waiter says. "I guarantee you will not be disappointed." A few minutes later, the waiter brings out the soup and places it in front of the man. "Bon appetit," he says, and strides off. However, after a few moments, he spots the man waving him over. "Yes, sir." "Taste this soup," the man says. "I beg your pardon?" "Taste the soup," the man says. "Is there a problem?" I cannot imagine there could be a problem. The chef is renowned for his recipes, and this soup is one of his specialties. "Taste the soup," the man says again. "Perhaps I should get the head waiter," the waiter says nervously. He dashes off. After a minute or two, the waiter appears with the head waiter. "I understand there is a problem," he says. "Taste the soup," the man says. "Sir, I'll have you know we have never had a complaint in the history of this establishment. Our chef has a reputation for excellence and has in fact won a number of culinary awards. His work is beyond reproach." "Taste the soup," the man says again. "I think I need to fetch the house manager," the head waiter says, and rushes off. He returns a few moments later with the tuxedoed house manager. "What seems to be the problem?" the house manager asks. "Taste the soup," the man says. "Monsieur, I will have you know that this establishment is among the most respected and revered in the country. The chef is brilliant, known for his innovative and imaginative recipes. He trained at the most prestigious European culinary schools and has won the acclaim and admiration of his peers the world over. Even questioning his abilities is a grave insult." "Taste the soup," the man says again. "This is outrageous." "I shall call the chef himself," the house manager says, and rushes to the kitchen. A few moments later, he returns with the chef, a burly, humorless man with large hands and a red face. He glares at the man. "You have something you wish to say?" the chef says. "Taste the soup," the man says. The chef's eyes narrow as he leans over the table. "I have been the chef in this establishment for 25 years. I have prepared meals for presidents and kings. My reputation is unequaled, and every day I receive offers of employment. I can work anywhere in the world for anyone I choose. Yet you would sit here and impugn my reputation?" "Taste the soup," the man says. Taste the soup? Taste the soup? Good, sir. I made this soup myself from a recipe that has been handed down through the generations in my family. This was my great-great-grandmother's own recipe, and it is beloved. Taste the soup, the man says. Taste the soup? Taste the soup? I have never been so affronted. Taste the soup? Fine. I will taste the soup. He leans across the table and stops in confusion. But where is the spoon? You have no spoon, the chef says. Right, the man says.